Ladies, gentlemen, and legends of all ages, there's a fair bit to do in Pokémon Legends Z-A, and the vast majority of it either gives you rewards and resources, or costs resources to do and interact with. And so in order to get the absolute most out of this game, you need as much of every relevant resource possible. And today we're going to break down the currently best known farms for everything that is important in this game. Starting off first though with some just general tips, buy the Canari plushes. These are at the construction building on the southeast side of your map. A worker directly outside will trade you these plushes in exchange for colorful screws. Colorful screws are the purple glowing Pokeball items on all of the Park World Town scaffoldings and some rooftops as well around the world. Unlike most important resources, the colorful screws cannot be farmed in a typical sense, so they won't be covered in this video, but there are a set number of them around the map. They are usually pretty obvious because of the purple glow on them, and once you have the Roto Glide function unlocked, you can get any one of those that you come across essentially quite easily. These plushes then increase the efficiency of various things. The red Canari plush increases experience gained by your Pokemon by pretty much everything that isn't candy specifically. The first rank increases experience gained by 5%, the second rank increases it by 10%, and the third rank increases it by 15%. The gold Canari plush increases money gained and also the conversion rate of prize medals into money at the end of the ZA Royale or Infinite ZA Royale, which is where you'll get the majority of your money anyways, and the first plush here increases the money gained to conversion rate by 15%, the second is 30% increase, and the third is a 50% increase. The pink Canari plush increases the amount of Mega Shards gained when breaking a Mega Crystal. This one is a bit harder to quantify because it's not a direct percent increase due to the amount of Mega Shards per crystal being a random roll within a set range. The level 1 plush makes any small crystals drop 2 to 4 shards. Large crystals drop 8 to 12 shards. The level 2 plush makes these small crystals drop 3 to 5 shards, and the large crystals drop 10 to 14 shards. Then the level 3 plush makes these small crystals drop 5 to 7 shards, and the large ones drop 14 to 18 shards. So the full plush on this one is nearly double the amount of shards that you can get if you don't have any plush at all. Then we have the green plush. This does not affect farming, but for the sake of mentioning it while we're here, you have 100 HP as a base as the player. Level 1 plush bumps that up to 150, level 2 plush is 200 HP, and level 3 plush is 250 HP. Then the blue Canari plush boosts the catch rate of Pokemon, with rank 1 being a 10% increase, rank 2 is a 20% increase, and rank 3 is a 35% increase. So if you're trying to catch Pokemon, this is a pretty big deal one to have. Past that, we're going to have both early and endgame options for these as much as it makes sense to do so, but if you are in the endgame, one thing to consider is crafting a perfect Pokemon to do this with, as there is one specific archetype of Pokemon that is perfect for every farm here that you could want to do that would involve a Pokemon, and that is something super duper fast. The best one in my opinion for this is Lucario. You can catch him in Wild Zone 20 once you've reached the end of the game, and ideally you would get him as an alpha as well, which can be done in the same zone. Otherwise, if you are early game and just want a Lucario in general, you can find a guaranteed spawn for Riolu on the southern side of this roof here, this shopping center. Then you can just play with Riolu using a bench 3 times, and that will help him evolve into Lucario. On his moveset, you want Extreme Speed and Bullet Punch, which he will learn naturally with levels, because these have super quick animations and low cooldown time. Other 2 slots are a bit more personal choice, and then you want to just boost up his IVs, sort him out with EVs, which for this one specifically should be mostly attack and speed, sort out the nature with a mint as well, grab a muscle band for your item, and if you want a full-on guide for crafting this Pokemon specifically, we do have that video up on the channel too. It's more just a bonus note here because it makes the actual farm activities we'll be doing more efficient if you have this. Some other notes then is that most things in this game world work with a respawn timer, and the interval is either 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Examples being that alpha Pokemon, after being fought to either KO or capture, will not respawn for 5 minutes afterwards. Small Mega Crystals have a 10-minute respawn timer, and large Mega Crystals seem to have around a 15-minute respawn timer. There is no way to speed this up that we are aware of, so that affects the majority of the things that we farm in this game. Aside from that, the majority of important things in the game can be broken down into either needing money, experience, or Mega Shards, meaning that if you have enough of these 3 resources, you can get most of the stuff that matters in the entire game. So those are our 3 main topics. We'll also talk about any important items you can get from the stuff like Bottlecaps as an example and how to get more of those. And then we'll also talk about how to farm alpha Pokemon specifically, as that is a desirable thing to hunt for and has some quirks for getting the most out of it. And for any of these where it's applicable, we will talk about early and endgame farm options. questions. That said, moving on, let's start with the money farming method specifically. There are a few overlapping things that will apply to multiple farm goals at the same time, but the exact way that you treat the activity will be different for each one. The main method here is the Z-A Royale, and this applies both during the story and once you've reached the endgame. It's just that the actual rate of efficiency from this goes up and up the further into the game you get. That said, there are two main things to consider when trying to maximize the money that you get from the Z-A Royale. First is that the actual money you make is dependent on the medals you earn during the night. You get a decent amount of medals from each trainer that you defeat, but a large portion of the medals that you can earn during the night are from the battle cards specifically, the things that you pick up while you're walking around the activity and then have to complete by doing specific objectives. So you want to pick up every battle card that you walk across until you have the full 3 in your inventory, then just always keep 3 in your rotation that you can actually complete and make an effort to do so in each battle you do, and that will maximize the raw number of medals that you can get by the end of the night. The other main consideration is number of trainers defeated. After every set number of trainers defeated through the night, you get a bonus multiplier on the medals when they convert into money at the end. This goes to a 1.5 times multiplier after 5 trainers defeated, 2 times multiplier at 10 trainers defeated, 2.5 times multiplier at 20 trainers defeated, and then finally 3 times multiplier at 30 trainers defeated. Early game, I would say the most achievable goal to consistently hit is that 2.5 times multiplier for 20 trainers defeated. You can hit that in the early and mid game, but in the end game, especially if you are using the Pokemon setup we talked about before, you can very easily go over 30 trainers, and I've heard from some trainers using our method that if you can get the right RNG going in your favor, they've hit over 50 trainers defeated in a single night. And it's worth mentioning that while you are fighting trainers, time does not pass. So the nighttime does not progress while you're in battle, meaning it only progresses while you're walking around. So as long as you keep going from battle to battle as quickly as you can, the night will actually give you a lot of time to defeat as many trainers as possible. 30 then, again, is the amount that you need in order to hit the 3 times multiplier, and defeating trainers past that isn't really necessary. You just sort of want to focus on battle cards for medals more so, and obviously fighting the trainers what you need to do to progress those. That said, do this, and as you can see, you'll start to earn quite a lot of money, and you can do this as often as you want, because you can always just sit on a bench and rest until nighttime to start the activity up again after it ends. It's also worth mentioning I've heard people talk about restaurant resetting, which to be specific is using the restaurant side missions that get you to battle a gauntlet of trainers, and these actually will reset if you lose any of the fights, but you keep the XP and money you've gained so far. So you can just do the restaurant missions until you reach the final battle, purposefully lose to the final Pokemon, then go again from the start. You'll be automatically healed, you'll be right back at the start of the mission, and this also will just make you keep the amount of XP and money you got. This shouldn't be better experience or money than our other strategies are, but it is worth bringing up for those who prefer a bit of a break from doing specifically only Z-A Royale on loot, because there's a lot of that in this game. Moving on to experience farming then, this is split into a few different categories really. First is mid-story and endgame, and these are honestly pretty much the same aside from a couple of key differences, but the other part of it is whether you are trying to farm experience for one singular Pokemon, or if you are trying to boost the experience of your entire party, because the answer is different for each one at different points in the story. The main simple answer though is we're going to be going back to the Z-A Royale, but treating it wildly differently. Specifically, we're going to be taking advantage of the fact that you can actually run away from real-time battles, even with trainers, unlike other Pokemon games. You do this by simply walking out of range and the battle will just end. You keep any experience that you earned during the battle so far, and the opponent trainer will actually fully reset to how they were before the battle started. The way that we abuse this with the Z-A Royale is by finding a trainer with a high XP value lead Pokemon, meaning one that is ideally a max evolved form, as well as being a relatively high HP Pokemon, as that also does lead to higher XP rewards. In this situation, I've gotten now Dino, which is pretty much the exact perfect option, and you ideally want that Pokemon to be one-shottable by a member of your party too, and all of this of course applies with the Lucario that we talked about earlier, who is excellent for it with his high damage, fast animation attacks. So the whole plan is walk in range of performing a sneak attack, command the sneak attack, then start running away as fast as you can from the trainer immediately. If you are near an exit gate, you can even use the exit gate and it will make it automatically end combat whenever you go through it, but make sure that the attack lands and you get the XP reward before you go through the gate if you're doing that. Otherwise, if you're staying in the zone, you can just run max speed away. It doesn't matter how far you get, as long as the hit one-shots the Pokemon, you get the XP reward for defeating that Pokemon, and then you just want to keep running until you reach max battle range, which cancels the battle. In a perfect setup like I've got going on here, you can even get it running in a way where the moment the "you've entered battle" thing happens and it zooms in and then zooms back out, combat will immediately end and a full reset occurs, and then you can just repeat this over and over. Do this as much as you want for the entire duration of the nighttime, nighttime, nice and simple, and of course you can just make it night again if you want to keep going. If you are in the endgame as well, you can make this slightly more efficient through side mission 109. This shows up after you've completed the story. It is in the Vert District Pokemon Center. Defeat the nurse in battle here, and she will give you the Lucky Egg item. Lucky Egg increases experience gained by the Pokemon that's holding it by 50%, so this will only apply to one Pokemon at a time, but 50% is a massive amount, so you can either use this to funnel a large portion of experience to a singular Pokemon, or of course just shift it around your party to move it to a different Pokemon each night and swap who gets the bonus one at a time. This then is just the best group XP method by a pretty large amount, as every Pokemon gains experience from it at the same time, and while the ZA Royale isn't always the best solo experience gain method, it is the best one for solo experience if the Pokemon you want to funnel XP into mainly is strong enough to make one-shots as your lead Pokemon while doing this method, as the lead Pokemon is the one that gets the most XP, and obviously a level 20 Pokemon isn't going to be very efficient at doing this. So if you want to funnel XP into a single Pokemon and those requirements are not being met, instead the fastest way would be to farm for experience candies, and the way that you do that is through Mega Shards, or through Alphas, which we'll touch on later too. That said, for Mega Shards, on top of being used to buy experience candies from Quasartico Inc., it can also be used to buy Mega Stones for various Mega Evolving Pokemon you might want in your party. We've talked about the pink Canari plush, which of course is massive for farming Mega Shards. We've talked about the Lucario build that I use, and it will be the same setup for Mega Shard farming too, except that I will be adding Earthquake into a third move slot, just to have something nice and big in area of effecty to clear larger groupings of crystals as we go. Then we also have mentioned that the Mega Crystals have respawn timers that cannot be manipulated, so to farm them the best way we can, we need a nice efficient route that we can travel to maximize our efficiency within the respawn timers and get the most out of it possible. The main route that I've been going with here is starting at this cafe to the east of Wild Zone 9. From here you go through the alleyway to the left and end up near the battle courts to find this set of scaffolding you can climb up to the roof. The entire ring of rooftops around here north of Wild Zone 9 has loads of Mega Crystals all over it, so you want to run around these roofs and just grab everything here by destroying everything. Then you want to use your Roto Glide to cross to the building directly east just to grab the nice pile of Mega Crystals on the corner of the roof, and then Roto Glide from here to the building south of it, climb up and you will find another massive dense field of Mega Crystals to break through. From here you want to drop down to the street level and use the alleyway entrance to Wild Zone 9 itself. At the end of the alleyway, take a left turn and go up the ladder against the building. On top of the building there's a pile of Mega Crystals to break, and once again there are lots of Mega Crystals across the rooftops within the Wild Zone, so you want to go around through this Wild Zone and break all of the Mega Crystals up there too. After you've done that, we go to this cafe on the southern side of the middle street, and immediately south of it is an elevator that goes up to the roof. Drop down to the open square in between the square of buildings to find 3 nice piles of crystals to break. After you've collected those, fast travel to Wild Zone 3 and then take a right turn and follow the street over to find scaffolding that will bring you up on top of a shopping gallery center. And both on the upper layer of rooftops here and on the lower layer of roof in the center area, there is a lot of Mega Crystals that you can break and collect the shards from. After you've finished this building, you want to jump off of the west side of the roofs and cross over to the elevator that's just to the west of Wild Zone 3 and go up to that roof. This ring of rooftops here has a fair bit of Mega Crystals on it, and you can pull off a bit of parkour maneuver from the southeast corner by then sprinting, rolling off the edge, and then using the Roto Glide mid-air to just barely make this jump successfully. Then you can follow this rooftop along to the edge of it to find one last very big, dense pile of Mega Crystals to pick up. Then from there you can reset and start the loop from the beginning. 2 things to keep in mind if you're doing this: check your Mega Shard count between each fast travel you do, because 999 is the limit of shards that you can carry at one moment, and you can easily hit 999 shards before you finish one full loop, at which point you have to go spend them before you continue. The second thing is that the efficiency of this farm will sort of bob back and forth. This is a 10-minute loop when it's done efficiently, and 10 minutes is the respawn time for the small crystals, but the large ones still won't be around for a little bit afterwards. So essentially every second run has no large crystals, but taking that factor into account, this still hits an average of a full Mega Shard inventory, which is 999 shards, and around 9.5 minutes of playtime. It takes 8 minutes on your first run, 11 minutes on your second run, so average of 9.5. And that is super duper quick for a full inventory of shards. As far as the part where we can turn this into XP, the Mega Shard store updates once you hit endgame, and when that happens, it unlocks 2 more ranks of experience candy you can trade for. You might think that this would be more efficient, and so you should wait to do this sort of interaction before you hit endgame, but the small candies cost 8 shards to give you 800 experience, the medium candies cost 30 shards to give you 3000 experience, and the large large candies cost 100 shards to give you 10,000 experience, so they all actually have the exact same relative value to each other, which is 1 mega shard being equal to 100 experience. It genuinely does not matter which version of these you buy, they all have the exact same sort of conversion rate. As well, we just went over a relatively condensed explanation of the actual farm route there, but if you want to see the entire thing in detail so you can see all of my specific movements along the way and such, we do also have a video going over that entire process for mega shard farming that you can find on this channel as well. Next up, we have items of importance. Most things in the game that matter can be bought with either money or mega shards, which is why we covered those in depth. Things like battle items or EV training items or nature changing mints, all that can be bought with money, and just for the sake of clarity, most battle items can be bought from a vendor inside of the construction building over here once you have finished the story. The Rust Syndicate office to the southwest will reset a Pokemon's EVs for 5 mega shards each once you have finished story mission number 20, which is a wildly cheap amount of shards to actually charge for that. And you can also buy vitamins for EV boosting from Poke Center shops after you've finished mission 20 as well. For the mints, most of them can be found in this little shopping center here. All of the mint market stalls in here are the ones that have flowers on their tables, which makes it easy to recognize. And the speed boosting mints can specifically be found this market stall over here to the southeast instead. All of the other ones are in that first shopping area. That said, there are 2 somewhat important resources that you cannot buy with money or with shards. The first is Bottlecaps, and the second is Seeds of Mastery. As far as where to use these and what they do, they are both consumed at the Justice Dojo on the eastern side of the city, and are both unlocked once you've reached rank D through the main story progression. The NPC that is on the right side will do hyper training for you, which is boosting the IVs of a given Pokemon in exchange for Bottlecaps. To do this, the chosen Pokemon must be at least level 50, and you need the actual currency to do it. Regular Bottlecaps will max out 1 IV at a time. The gold Bottlecap will max out all 6 IVs in one go. As for how to get these as best as possible, you get 10 regular Bottlecaps for research rank 36 from Mabel's research rewards, which is a decent pile to start with. You get 1 gold Bottlecap for research rank 48, which will take you quite a fair bit to get to. There is 1 Bottlecap that you can just pick up as an item on the ground inside of Wild Zone 20 once you finish the story. You can get 2 Bottlecaps from side mission 96, which is located on the battle court immediately north of Wild Zone 20. I've already completed it, but this is where the side mission was. And then you can get 1 gold Bottlecap from side mission 103, right here east of the Justice Dojo. The quest giver here will give you 3 different Furfrou related side quests, and the third and final one is the one that rewards a gold Bottlecap. Aside from those, the only way to get Bottlecaps is through pure RNG in the endgame, specifically from the reward batches you take part in using Challengers tickets from the Infinite Z-A Royale. This means that the farm method for Bottlecaps is essentially identical to what we did for money. You want to maximize battle card rewards and trainer fights because those are what get you the most points. Then once you've hit the point requirement to get a ticket, you just want to leave the Z-A Royale instantly and go do the reward battle if that's all you actually care about, and that gets you a low % chance at a Bottlecap from the rewards. I do feel the need to really just sort of clarify that the rate of Bottlecaps does seem quite low, so while this is the only repeatable source of Bottlecaps in the game that we know about, it's not very fast by any means. The other thing then is Seeds of Mastery. These enable any move that you want to be used as a plus move. Most moves a Pokemon learns will become a plus move naturally eventually as it levels, but this skips over that and lets you force any move to be usable as a plus move for Seeds of Mastery, and you do this with this other NPC at the Justice Dojo. Seeds of Mastery have a decently high chance of dropping from any alpha Pokemon that you defeat, whether you fully defeat them or if you catch them, no difference. Seemingly higher level alpha Pokemon have higher drop chances on this item, but that is just sort of feely craft from my time messing around with these various activities, and that's really the only thing to consider. That said, that means the best method for farming Seeds of Mastery is to farm alpha Pokemon in large quantities. And alpha Pokemon are also very relevant for a second reason, which is the whole hyper training, the IVs, the Bottlecap talk. Because Bottlecaps are in relatively short supply in Legends Z-A, alpha Pokemon uniquely are guaranteed to always have 3 perfect IVs, which means that it will lower the Bottlecap requirement to make that Pokemon theoretically perfect. Alpha Pokemon also always come with maxed out HP EVs, but EVs are easier to manipulate in this game than IVs are, so the 3 max IVs is the most important part. This means that you can just get an alpha of whatever Pokemon you want to train, and it will require less Bottlecaps to do so. And it is also worth noting that alpha Pokemon always come with a move that isn't naturally part of their moveset, so this can lead to some fun mixed shenanigans as well. All that aside, there's some good reasons to actually farm alphas if you want them, so let's talk about how to farm alpha Pokemon for 2 different ways and 2 different methods. The first is for Seeds of Mastery, and it's also worth noting that this can be a very valid XP farm doubling up at the same time if you want both. For Seeds of Mastery, your only real priority is quantity of alphas that you can defeat and catch, with a lean towards higher level alphas being worth more than lower level ones. We mentioned earlier that after being defeated or caught, an alpha Pokemon will not respawn for around 5 minutes. This means you can't just lock yourself into one place, walking in and out of the same wild zone, killing the same 2 alphas. So the simple answer is to go through the wild zones in descending order, taking on the alphas until 5 minutes have passed, and then reset and start back at the top. So what you want to do is do the 2 alphas that spawn in Wild Zone 20, then move to do the alphas in Wild Zone 19, then do Wild Zone 18, so on and so forth until 5 minutes have passed, and then go back to 20. For maximizing XP gains during this process too, you want to make sure that you save before starting combat, then you want to complete combat until you put the Pokemon into stun state. When they've got the stars above their head, they're at 0 HP. Then, if you aren't in combat with other Pokemon, you can actually open the menu and save the game here. After that, throw a ball and attempt to catch them. If the catch fails, you can reload into the game and it'll pop you in with the Pokemon in the stun state, so you can just throw another ball. The reason we do this is because when you defeat a Pokemon, they give you experience. When you catch a Pokemon, they give you experience. And because of the stun state being in this game, we can actually do both. You can both defeat them to get the defeat XP and then catch them in stun state to also get the catch XP. So you're effectively creating bonus experience by catching a Pokemon after you stun it. As well, alpha Pokemon always drop XP candies when you defeat them, with the size of the candy being somewhat random chance, so you can even get more XP from each one defeated as well thanks to this. You don't have to do the defeat and the catch if you only are here for the Seeds of Mastery, but doing that is really good for XP, and that is what makes it a really nice double up activity. The other way that you would want to farm alpha Pokemon is if you want to use it for the max IVs, if you actually care about which Pokemon you're farming, in which case you aren't wanting quantity of alphas, you just want the ability to find one specific Pokemon as an alpha. First up then would be knowing where it can spawn. A fun fact about the wild zones is that after you have completed a wild zone in this game, which means once you've caught each of the species that can appear at least once, it will unlock the alpha spawning ability. Normally a wild zone can only have a couple of alphas at a time, and they are always specific species, always the same one. Once you have completed the wild zone though, any of the Pokemon that can spawn in that zone have a chance of showing up as alpha Pokemon, and you aren't locked to having 2 at a time anymore either, but it is uncommon to see more than that regardless. This means if, let's say, you want an alpha Beedrill, one path to doing that would be fully completing Wild Zone 2 and then resetting until you get an alpha Kakuna to show up because they can. Then you can then evolve that into the Beedrill. You can use this to get any Pokemon in the Wild Zones to potentially spawn as an alpha as a result. Outside of those, your best bet is going to be inside of Wild Zone 20. The alphas in Wild Zone 20 are picked from a pool of 64 different potential Pokemon, which is pretty massive, but if you want any of these 64 Pokemon as alphas, this is a pretty good place to be able to get them, on top of them being in the mid-level 60s, which means that they're already in a pretty powerful spot right from the get-go. For either of these methods then, it will involve a lot of resetting the Pokemon in the area to change which Pokemon are alphas or which Pokemon just exist in general, and while you can fast travel to the area repeatedly to do a reset, another method is just walking out of spawn range. If you're in the right place, this can even be faster than fast traveling, so if you physically see a Pokemon disappear, that means it has despawned, and that means if you go back in that direction, you go back in range of where it was, it will spawn in again. This applies to alphas, and for Wild Zone 20, where the alphas are picked from a pool of 64 different options, it will change which Pokemon actually spawn in as alphas each time that you do this to help you rotate through the pool a little bit faster. And I think that just about does it then, everyone. Everything you could want to farm for power increases in Pokémon Legends Z-A. And hey, the money farm can also even help you get a real solid fashion wardrobe going too if you'll want to look good. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and hopefully some or even all of these tips and methods will prove useful in your continued time with Pokémon Legends Z-A. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.